Chapter 34, The Fantasy. Besides all those women which Michael did remember, then of course there was Nikki. But after how she had given him the cold shoulder that one visit, Michael felt too embarrassed to call upon her ever again. What if... Shut up. Enough of that now. Get that damn woman out of your head. Years Michael had spent without the touch, without the spell in prison. But once Michael had gotten out that third night, he knew he had to get back into action before he felt himself truly wither away and die. That night, he went out, picked up that Texas chick, did the deed, and felt great. Second night, went out, picked up another chick, some girl from Quebec, did the deed, but unfortunately felt it a little less. Third night felt lesser. Fourth, even more so. Michael was obviously seeing a pattern after the third night. Some of the nights afterwards did get better, but never as good as the first. All is vanity under the sun, they say. The fuck was that Texas girl? Enough. After a while, it slowly began to scare him to think he could no longer be his old self, and being his old self mattered a lot to him. But then Michael thought of what it meant to be in his 30s and realized he couldn't base his feelings on how he remembered himself back when he was younger. Shit, my 20s went to waste, mostly in prison, frozen in time, then reanimated and thrown back out and having to come to terms with being in my 30s. Now he felt like the world was slowing down, as he found his vibrant energy following the same direction. One night, Michael decided, fuck it, I need more, and decided to up the ante. So he went to one of those sleazy sex parties that he had found flyers for all around the neighborhood. Of course, getting there, he found the crazy shit other people were into were downright despicable and disgusting. Michael took himself as being a bit old-fashioned, a simple meat and potatoes type of guy. One hot mama, hot steaming sex. Furthest he was willing to go was toss a salad. Tossing there. But wait a second. Is that term only meant to be between dudes? I know in prison some of the lonely butt pirates there used to get salad dressing and spread it over their love tunnels for those special outings at sea with other lonely able-bodied seamen like themselves. That's what the term is supposed to generally mean. But I've done it to chicks, and I've seen how cross-eyed and stupid they get when it looks like I'm really tossing something in their noggins as they start singing me Daisy Bell. Is it only between? Fuck it. I like that term. Damn, did Cecilia lose her noodle when I did it to her like that? Isabel was always cross-eyed and stupid, so I couldn't tell much of a difference. But damn, did Nikki go... But whatever the deal, to Michael, sex was his fantasy. For him, sex was that otherworldly place, that ethereal plane of existence, that escapism that he felt brought him peace and harmony, that gave him salvation, you can even say. No, Michael. Please don't start thinking about that blasphemy. Damn my Catholic upbringing. Ugh. And seeing how he saw it all as a fantasy, Michael felt he had a role to play, to be that all-masculine type, being a man above all other men, all male and captivating all other females with his domineering ways, and making them moan and groan and weep and whimper, and scream and squeal and shake and shiver and quake and quiver and howl and wail and spasm and convulse and cry, and then finally climax harder than they've ever been so before in their entire lives. And that there to Michael was the good stuff. The good stuff that comes with having a real woman in your arms that you love and want to make the best loving to. Well, as long as it's not Isabel, who's just gonna moan at you like a walrus trying to 69 a grizzly bear. Wait, how would that even work? Hearing a woman other than Isabel make all those hoots and hollers and noises was sweet heavenly music to Michael's ears. Feeling her vibrate like that, like the feeling coming from her own beating heart, gave Michael the sense of peace and harmony that he was looking for, as he felt it sustaining that sense of life well lived within him, as it did in her. That there was Michael's meat and potatoes, and he believed it was the only true great meaning in life, at least in his. If I could, I'd just have every waking second of this life spent like that. What other greater meaning is there to life, anyways? All the knowledge and possession gained are all the knowledge and possessions lost when we're good and buried. So our sensations are all that matter, as long as we're here. Michael had been building up his expectations for having some of the best sex in his life, but also naively too, since he didn't exactly know what he was getting himself into. Was to discover later his scene wasn't there to be found, and there was a completely different scene that followed. Yeah, nothing of meat and potato value there, more like some mystery meat served in a sushi roll that's got tentacles coming out trying to drag itself away from your plate. I'm not even going to get into the shit that they were into. Not even going to speak of it. Really, really fucked up and despicable shit. Stuff you'd expect in Jersey too. Yeah, of course. A party like that would be in Jersey, in Newark no less. And to Michael, I mean, what the fuck is this? Who are these people? Who gets off on this shit? Are they even human? Although seeing some skank getting fucked by a donkey was sort of funny. Most of that shit disgusted him, besides getting him to bust out with the laughs, and he didn't even want to think about it. They seemed like a bunch of sleazeballs and jerks that couldn't appreciate the purity in a good old-fashioned orgasm, had perverted themselves to such extremes. As for his time at that party, the furthest he was willing to go with those jokers was an all-out orgy. Well, as long as there's only chicks in the room, maybe just to teach them how things should be, since I'm pretty sure those chicks wouldn't be getting much from the type of guys there. Since most of the guys in there were some real creep shows. You know, type of losers that are all balding, wearing bifocals and dressed like their mothers still dressed them. And they're also in their 30s and 40s too, but looking to be reaching for their 60s. You know, type of guys you'd find spending hours upon hours in a video store, in the porn section, that are running shitty motels out in the middle of the desert just outside Phoenix, Arizona, with their mothers. You know what type of characters I'm driving at, right? Alright, who am I kidding? The women there were no Heather Lockleys either, but some Wednesday Addams looking women, not even the kind that are all sort of hot in a freaky way, mostly just freaky. Although still, he'd be willing to do it even with those types, but as long as he was the only cock present. I would get too territorial in that shit, in orgies, with having any other dudes around, especially any Norman Bates looking motherfuckers. If I was to see any other swing dicks around mine, I know I would up and do something, have their wimpy looking asses tossed out of the fucking joint. So what Michael decided to do was just to pick up a couple of bi chicks and see if they were all that were needed to get his rocks off. So when he found 3, he took them out of that disgusting place and took them home. Then did the deed and really ripped into those 3 girls. 3 okay-looking brunettes with Misfits and Ramones t-shirts on. Also one with a bull piercing. Let's just put it at that. And had them orgasming out into the speed of light, blast them off into outer space, and had them weeping for the dwindling stars out there that were eventually going to burn out someday. But even then, it sucked. It did. Having sex with 3 women at the same time actually sucked, if you can believe that. For the problem was, he was now slowly beginning to feel bored and impotent for the first time in his entire life at intercourse. And days later, when he fully realized it, it had then enraged him. What the fuck was happening to me? Fuck. Maybe this is what happens when you overdo it. Since getting out 8 months ago, I'd say I'd at least been with 40 to 50 women. Actually, Michael had been with something around the likes of over 200. Fuck, really? Over 200 women in the last 8 months? 246 to be exact. Fuck, I've become a sexaholic or something. Wait a second, besides fucking, how many fights have I been in since getting out? Not counting the night I've had. 30-ish. Actually, Michael had been in over 50. I've been in over 50 fights? Fuck. I truly am a video game character. Fucking double dragon and shit. And in real life, that means being a real certified nutjob of a person. Maybe I should just go back to the joint. Maybe Michael should. Actually, fuck that. Fuck that shit. I'd rather be dead than go back in. Prison? Rather end up dead out here in the streets than go back in and continue living, but truly dead at that fucking place. As for those women, the 3 women Michael had a foursome with, the problem that Michael realized then was, compared to the good sex I've had in my life, there was just no connection. And I don't mean the physical type. He felt glad that they were glad since Michael was able to get them off. But why wasn't I able to? Well, that's what I thought then until it came to me. And when it did, Michael then realized most of his thoughts were still on the women he used to have in his life. And these new ones he was meeting now since getting out of prison seemed too invisible, I would say would be the word. Just not there. Invisible, hollow, shallow, too meaningless. Yes, too meaningless for him to feel a sensation with. His sensations had grown dull to the touch of a fresh new stranger, for he felt their touch was less giving. Yet thinking about the touch of something old and familiar like Annabelle's seemed much more meaningful to him now, since he felt he understood hers more deeply. Fresh new strangers had a way to scratch a good itch on the surface, but Michael now felt like it was the old flames that were really going to be able to engulf his core and burn it away into his center. In other words, I miss the touch of the old, the forgotten, the ones that awakened me to new and beautiful experiences, back when I had fewer layers of callous built up over my heart. And if that wasn't enough, that what really, truly irritated him about the foursome was the type of sex he was having. Those younger women didn't seem too sure at all of how the whole sex act worked. They spent the entire fucking time staring at me like they were questioning the whole experience, whether or not it was happening. Yeah, they were on drugs. Tons. So doped out of their minds that they kept staring at me like I was a fucking animal or demon or something. Pretty much anything but human. Us all fucking in animal mode, with them all looking scared while screaming their heads off. And I'm feeling fed up of hearing it, yeah. Fed up of hearing womanly orgasms, since they were practically screaming like possessed nutbags. Fed up, since there was no heart nor soul found anywhere in the experience, none at all. Mike was mostly ramming those 3 brunettes since nothing else seemed to work. They understood him when he was laying it hard, but understood nothing when he was trying to do something much more meaningful with his gentleness. I have that too. I do. I have that too. I don't have it just all rough and tough. I have it both. Gentle when they want to connect, and rough and tough when they want me to be a man and command and conquer. Michael now began looking at LaToya's bulging calves that were fitted in beige nylon, began feeling like massaging them. Michael loved the feel of nylon stockings on his skin. He loved the rough feel of them. Back when he was with LaToya on some nights, he'd be at her place here on the couch watching Taxi or Welcome Back Carter on TV with her, as he'd just lay his head down on her lap and would gently rub his cheek against her thighs fitted in nylon. He loved that feel, how warm it felt from a warm throbbing body underneath. He also loved it when he'd feel little rapid muscle spasms pulsate. As she would adjust the pressure in her legs, he felt like he could spend all night doing that. I used to do that with, too. Michael shook that thought out and went back to concentrating on LaToya. With LaToya here, all I needed to do really to get her motors going was to rub her calves for 10 or 20 minutes or so, which always did the trick for her. That or, well, eat her out for an hour. But then again, what woman doesn't blow their load when a man is feasting on their hair pie? Fuck, I feel hungry now. Michael sighed and glared a bit more at Latoya and began to think about her again. You know what I miss the most, though? And all she needed to do really to make me feel alive didn't even involve intercourse. At all. All she needed to do was place her hand over my heart, smile in my eyes, and wait, just wait for something to give. I miss that. That there was something that felt like it would transcend every experience just about I've ever had in my entire life, sending me into an entirely different realm. Bali High, Shangri-La, Baymani, Yeast, Nirvana, Heaven, reaching that transcended place beyond all, maybe for something you could consider the metaphysical.